It's a beautiful bacon day, Cookie Crusaders. Today we're going to be talking about a new PvP team that I've been working with. It's really focused on Oyster and Espresso Cookie, Financer being the one that protects the two of them. Now, because of the way Financer works and with the current setup, we have Espresso Cookie at a total of 100,000 attack power, with Oyster Cookie being at 60,000. So what will happen is in the battle, Financer will protect Espresso, and if Espresso specifically goes down after a feather activation, which should happen since we don't have any damage resistance on Espresso, we will default then to Oyster for the both protection and attack boosts. What this team is mostly focused on doing is taking out the enemy with Espresso because of the attack boost coming from Financer, the critical boosts coming from Oyster, and the critical damage boosts coming from Oyster as well. We do have damage resistance on the toppings for Oyster and Financer, and a little bit for Parfait. We have none for Espresso because if for some reason Espresso is to go down, we get an immediate activation thanks to the feather. And as you can see, the interruption from Espresso's ability handles really well. And actually, we just got a feather activation from Espresso right there. So the double injury and the interruption helped achieve that specific stat right there. Even though Wildberry is an amazing cookie, Caramel Arrow is an amazing cookie, Espresso was able to just completely wipe the floor with them without any question. And that is helpful thanks to the critical damage boost coming from Oyster Cookie 2. So we'll take it against one of the higher meta teams with higher treasures, just to show you what's happening. Now, of course, Vampire is going to be dealing a lot of damage to your backline. Parfait will likely be the cookie that's taking the damage here, and that's why we set it up the way we did, because I thought about running the pomegranate build instead, but if we had, we would have run into the issue where Cotton would have taken damage from Vampire first, and then we lose more damage because of that build setup. Now, as you can see, we run a lot tighter in this battle from Vampire and Espresso because they are running Pomegranate Cookie, and so that's okay. They had more boosted attack plus more damage resistance, so we were able to beat someone that had Caramel Arrow and Eclair because they weren't boosting their Espresso as much, and we had more bodies on the field for Espresso to do that 8 million damage on their team between our Oyster and our Cotton Cookie. So that's really the reason that their Espresso was able to well outpace ours. But then if we take against somebody like this team that's running Dark Cacao and Espresso, they do have high DPS units and high damage resistance on their team, but what we do have is the ability to put the bodies against them, and so we have much more damage potential than their team is currently running, especially if our Espresso gets the feather. Now, in this case, Oyster did end up getting the feather, which is okay. We sent enough bodies against their team to deal quite a staggering amount of damage. We did lose our Espresso in this battle, but Financer still doing an amazing job keeping alive our team and giving that reflections against the enemy so that we have the highest chances of winning the battle too. Now, there are other ways you could set this up. You could use Wildberry for extra damage resistance protection. That's always going to be an option too. You could run things like Dark Cacao for shield removals, Eclair for attack boost, Pomegranate for heals and attack boost as well. That one we barely won the match because yet again, their Espresso had more bodies to hit, so more damage running as well. And a good way you could set it up is you could do critical jellies on Espresso if you can get a high enough crit percentage with a high attack substat, because then you'll do even more damage. But for now, we ran high searing numbers instead, just because we wanted to make sure that we had the highest attack, getting that Financer boost, and then that feather activation, which in most cases, as you saw, did go to Oyster, just because of the health differences. So it's really going to come down to how well your damage resistance is on your teammates, and how well the team setup and synergy runs too. Hopefully you find this video helpful, and I'm still working to putting towards teams together for some other modes like Odyssey and a few other things coming. And let's all get excited for the potential Disney launch that's coming up soon. What are you most excited for? What are you looking more forward to? There's so much coming, and I'm so excited to see what's going to be coming up. Either way, thank you so much for stopping by, and have a wonderful day.